Today, we take a good look at Jimmy. What his life would have been like if he wasn't shot in the back. We also take a look at Spinner in a double feature. Him with Jay in the bathroom, and him being quiet about Jimmy. It all interconnects today on Cutters, Degrassi, What Ifs. Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond, and welcome to another Degrassi What Ifs. And I'm glad you're here because there are 3 good what ifs that need to be done here, and they're all intertwined, and they're all the season finale, if you will, of this show. So basically, I had 36 what ifs that I easily thought about, and basically, I wrote them down and all that. So basically, the the first 12 videos, this is the 12th video, has to deal with them. I will be asking the Degrassi Reddit community for their resolve and basically what happens, what other what ifs I should do. But I also have to figure out what ifs after season 7 and all that. I feel like I've missed 1 or 2 what ifs and all that. And no, I'm not counting those Degrassi minis because that is something pure weirdness. Anyway, so I know you'll probably be hearing in the background some noise, but that's my heater. So anyway, first of all, let's talk about our first what if. The simple what if here is basically Jimmy. Now, Jimmy, in the first 3 seasons before his untimely accident, basically was a good friend to Spinner. He was basically a jock. He was basically rich. His parents basically had issues, but Jimmy seemed to get away with a lot more than you think. He was kind of a jerk. It was a jerk jock, if you will, especially to Sean, because Jimmy was upset over Sean probably taking his spot on the basketball team. So basically, he decides to steal Spinner's ADD medication. And basically, what ends up happening is that he plays out of his gourd and basically does all well. Spinner unfortunately misses his dosage and is such that he moons to school. Well, Raj is not too happy. Raj basically tells him why he didn't have that other pill and all that. And Spinner didn't want Raj to butt in on him and Jimmy. I know Spinner gave it to Jimmy, but he refused to name Jimmy as who had the drug because of that. Raj was not too pleased and basically told Spinner that you'll be taking your medication in front of me at all times now. Sorry. So anyway, Spin does all that. But anyway, yeah, Jimmy basically pushes his own teammate aside and makes the final shot. But Coach Armstrong cuts him from the team because of his selfishness. Jimmy and Sean get into fights and all that. Emma gets hit accidentally by Sean. Their relationship is over. Over. So anyway, Emma is not too pleased with being punched by Sean. Who would be? So anyway, Sean doesn't like that. But anyway, Jimmy basically got involved with Ashley. Unfortunately, Ashley took ecstasy and basically, Jimmy broke off with Ashley. Ashley basically wanted Jimmy back and all that, and basically asked Jimmy a question: do you like my old look or my new look? And Jimmy says, I like the old Ashley, pre-Goth. But of course, Ashley turned Goth because Paige basically turned everyone against her. And then Ashley goes off on a diatribe and all that, saying about how people should move on and all that. Ashley took it harshly when she shouldn't have. But yeah, so Jimmy was not too pleased. Jimmy basically ends up with Hazel because Hazel makes him feel better and all that. It's probably a nationality thing too. But anyway, yeah, Jimmy and Hazel, of course. Jimmy has his concerns about Rick and Terry, especially with the fact that Rick and Terry was also part of the. Rick was on Jimmy's side for a English assignment, a play assignment, and basically Rick didn't like the fact that Terry was with Jimmy. And so basically took Terry out of things by giving her acting tips that basically made her look like a fool and all that. And it doesn't help that Rick basically thinks that Terry has eyes on Jimmy. So basically, he's a jealous boyfriend. Basically, Jimmy gets into a lot of things. He and Toby get in trouble for trying to change Jimmy's grades on a school computer and all that. Like, Jimmy wanted to go to the concert. Toby basically wanted to get Jimmy's friendship, so he decided to do it. His laptop crashed. Jimmy says, I don't care, do it. All that. And so Toby ends up going on the school computer doing that. He gets caught. He fingers Jimmy as a suspect. Jimmy, of course, is upset with Toby and all that, saying that you're just a rat and all that. So anyway, yeah, they're in the Saturday detention episode and all that, and everything's fine and all that. The five of them become fast friends. All that. I think that's when Jimmy and Hazel started seeing each other because they were both in detention. So anyway, Jimmy did all that. So yeah, so Jimmy was basically a very decent person. He had a future ahead of him. Scouts were actually taking him to Laker games and making him see Manny Moore in concert. That's funny. Could have been the Clippers? Probably. Clippers suck anyway. So anyway, the fact is that Jimmy basically in season 4 is on the side of trying to destroy Rick once and for all because of what Rick did to Terry and all that, and everyone knows that. So basically, Jimmy's major role in the whole thing had to happen in Time Stand Still. Now, of course, all three what ifs have to kind of do with the episode Time Stand Still. But like anyway, in part 1, Jimmy and Spinner. Although at times I thought I meant Jay and Spinner, but it wasn't Jay and Spinner. It was Jimmy and Spinner. Actually dumped them in a dumpster. And basically, Rick was upset and all that. And then the next day, after spray painting their cars, Rick basically bumps into Jimmy at the hallway. Simpson stops both of them. Simpson asks questions about geography, like the 3 longest rivers, and who has won the most NBA championships. Jimmy gets him right. The NBA championships, obviously, I know it's the Boston Celtics. But now in 2020, the Lakers have 17 titles, so now they're tied with the Celtics. Fuck. So anyway, yeah, Boston and LA playing each other, and it's great. So anyway, yeah, so Jimmy gets to be on the Quiz Bowl team, or Rock Your Brain, if you will, only because Heather St. Clair is out due to mono. Rick is not too pleased about it. He decides to drop out. Toby and Emma tell him to tell Simpson. He doesn't want to do that because he'll figure it out. So, of course, Rick goes to Radich, gets blown off and all that. But Jimmy actually is on Rick's side because, after all, Rick basically said that being bullied is no fun and all that. And now that they're going to destroy Toby because he's my friend, Jimmy decides to switch sides, and then Jimmy defends Rick in front of Spinner, Jay, and Alex. And they're all upset. I mean, why wouldn't they be upset? So anyway, the first what if. Well, it's all about Jimmy. So anyway, as we all know, Jimmy basically got shot in the back by Rick, and basically, thankfully, it severed his spine, but thankfully he's in a wheelchair. He's a paraplegic. He's a paraplegic, not a quadriplegic. The difference is paraplegic still can move their upper extremities, like their arms and their legs and all that, and their head and all. Not in a sense, but quadriplegic, basically you're losing feeling in all your 4 major limbs, your legs and your arms. So anyway, yeah, so basically he does all that. He gets out of the hospital and all that. He has a falling out with Spinner, rightfully so. Jimmy wants to do art. His father wants him to do sports and all that. Basically, he says of no help. Jimmy basically lashes out at his father and all that for not letting him do what he wants to do. He wants to do things. He forgives Spinner, thankfully, in season 6. And basically, they opened up a t-shirt shop. He's happy. He puts stuff into music. Of course, we all know that Drake, or Aubrey Graham, as he's called, had music aspirations. And basically, Degrassi was not too pleased with that. So they basically forced him to choose, and he chose music. Great move. And of course, Jimmy was off the show after season 7. All that. Yeah, it was great. I would have loved to see what Jimmy was like after season 7, but no, guess not. I guess not. So anyway, the first thing is basically, what if Jimmy wasn't hit in the back? Now you can interpret it two different ways. One is, what if Jimmy was not victimized was not shot at all costs? Basically put that, honestly, I think they were running out of ideas how to portray Jimmy and all that. But basically, maybe Jimmy would have definitely been shunned for being friends with Rick. And basically, Jimmy would have had to backtrack his ways because people were upset that he was defending Rick. But Jimmy, I think, would probably have made strong points and basically got everyone to think, what the fuck are you thinking? I mean, to hurt this guy so much that it's a game to you, unacceptable. So anyway, yeah, I think Jimmy probably would have been the star athlete again because, as he said to Spinner, pieces of me are gone after Rick shot me in the back. I think Jimmy probably would have lasted 1 or 2 seasons because, of Drake's stuff. And number 2 is basically, you can interpret it like, what if Jimmy had been shot anywhere else? Now, keep in mind, everyone forgets that when Rick shot Jimmy, Rick actually had his head turned. Let's see. Like, he had his head turned to his left, and he had the gun, and he shot and got Jimmy in the back. Now, in the spine. However, there were parts of his back he could have shot at. If Rick was a terrific shot, he would have got him in the neck or the head, and Jimmy would have been dead. He could have got him in the buttocks. He could have got him in the legs. Jimmy, I think, probably would have still been in a wheelchair if he got him in the legs. But yeah, like, Rick had that feeling. Like, if Rick really wanted to kill Jimmy and all that, I think Rick was conflicted about Jimmy's role because, he turned his head. So yeah, I think Jimmy would have been dead in a sense. I have another what if. I mean, basically, I did the what if about what if Jimmy had died and Rick had lived and all that, and explained in detail what had happened. All right, so second what if has to do with Time Stands Still Part 2. Now, number 3 as well. But number 2 has to do with the fact that Spinner decides to come through to Jimmy. In Part 2, basically, it was the aftermath or the fallout of the pain and feathers. Basically, Rick goes home, he finds a gun and is going to the school. Toby tries to calm him down and send him on his merry way, saying that they'll find answers. Rick doesn't believe them. And then basically, while playing one-on-one basketball, Spinner and Jimmy talk about it, and Jimmy's like, I am so shocked someone would do that. What kind of person would do that? A genius, says Spinner. And basically, Spinner tells about his role, saying that, I love you, chicken boy. Ha ha ha. It was perfect. We set him up, and boom, the pain and feathers fell down. Jimmy's like, why don't you just stop picking on him? And Spinner's, ooh, look who's defending Rick now. Basically, Spinner, I think, in a way, was pissed off that Jimmy would defend Rick. And after all, Jimmy was riding Rick's ass, too. So basically, they get into a altercation. Chris Armstrong breaks him up and says, save it for the game and all that. So, of course, Spinner tells about the pain and feathers thing. And, of course, what's weird is in the deleted scene, they're walking together. They had a freaking altercation. Why didn't they get sent to Principal Radich's office or separated? And then all that. That was funny. It's kind of weird. So, basically put, it's like, what if Spinner had kept his mouth shut to Jimmy about that thing? Well, in a sense, it can only be answered by the third what if. And that basically was the what if that happened kind of prior to Time Stand Still Part 2, but in Part 1. Remember, in Time Stand Still Part 1 was when they did the Whack Your Brain contest and all that. Jimmy basically got in with Toby, Emma, and Rick. And then all of a sudden, it's like, it's perfect, those 4 together and all that. Jimmy can't remember who the first golfer to win a Grand Slam was, but thankfully Rick did it, Bobby Jones. And basically, Jimmy praises Rick and says, I have a lot of time to read. I spend a lot of time by myself. Not just because he doesn't really have friends, but because his parents basically are working 24/7, if you will. And then all of a sudden, Spinner and Jay comes by and says, "Hey, you should be doing the tiebreaker and all that." And they basically tell Rick, "Hey, you know what? You should do the tiebreak. You're saving our school with smarts, and you might get us the title." And then Jay basically tells him, "Don't worry, we're cool. Everything is back to normal. You won't be bullied." Of course, Rick walks out, and of course, Spinner and Jay. Well, of course, they did that with when Jimmy left the bathroom. Spinner and Jay smiled and said, "We're setting him up perfectly." Spinner has his reservation saying, "Will Alex actually do her job?" And Jay says, "Hey, that's what you get for dating the student council vice president." Nobody asks questions. So basically, that was huge because now they set up the paint and feathers. They set it up. They perfectly encapsulate Ricky in paint and feathers, and basically everyone laughs at him, and he is upset. And of course, Emma spurns him, and that puts him to take the gun to school in Time Stand Still Part 2. Of course, after Paige calms him down, and then he basically decides to clean himself up in the bathroom, puts his gun away in his locker, everything's fine. Like, he's calmed down. Unfortunately, though, Spinner and Jay basically pop up in the bathroom. Spinner tells Jay, "Dude, Radish knows." And Jay's like, "About Jimmy?" Spinner doesn't know what he's talking about. Jimmy, and then Jay points down at the stall and then basically says, "Well, this wouldn't have been easy. It was a perfect setup." And then Spinner chimes in about how Jimmy got those sports questions wrong so that Rick would save the team and then put himself in the tiebreaker. It would never have happened with the man on the inside. And they all laugh it off. Of course, we all know that there was a twofold reason why Spinner said Radish knows. One is that he was afraid that Jimmy was going to tattle on him, as I referenced in the second What If, after that altercation, because Spinner told Jimmy everything with the paint and feathers. And also in the deleted scene, that Radish actually stopped Spinner in his tracks and basically asked him to talk for a talk at 3:30. I mean, it would have made sense if the deleted scene actually was but the first part, without the deleted scene, it still would have happened. Like, it would have been twofold. Like, Spinner was worried that Jimmy was going to tattle on him. He realized that. And then he also realized that Radish wants to talk to Spinner about the things. And so basically, Jay tells the lies about Jimmy so that he can calm Spinner down, and basically, everything can happen. And then that's when Rick shot Jimmy. So, of course, it's all that. The second What If led to the third What If, and basically it leads to the fact that, I did a Reddit post a while ago saying that, what would have happened if Spinner had kept quiet about his involvement and all that. I know that you can kind of say that, what if Spinner didn't tell Jimmy the truth in the end? And you can interpret it by that. But you got to remember that it also means that, Spinner could have kept quiet to Jimmy in the first place about the paint and feathers that morning. Because, I mean, like, honestly, like, it could be twofold. Like, basically, Spinner basically got himself into trouble without realizing it. And then Radish basically comes down from the mountain, if you will, and basically confronts Spinner, and Spinner's now in trouble. And Jay, basically, to save his best friend, basically does the trick for Jimmy. Personally, I think that it would have been conflicted as much. Because I know that the whole Time Stand Still Part 2 thing made basically Spinner into a villain when he was not really a villain. He was more of a courty villain, if you will. It made Jay a villain, but a lot of people really thought Jay was a villain, especially in season 3 when he basically got Sean to join his gang instead of being with Emma. But yeah, we all knew Jay was a villain and all that beforehand. This just added fuel to the fire. And of course, the What If, Spinner hadn't told Jimmy about it. As I said, it can be interpreted two ways. One is the Time Stand Still Part 2, basically when he tells him about the paint and feathers, and that leads to Spinner and Jay trying to help Spinner out by deflecting blame off Spinner onto Jimmy. And number 2 is basically, in the hallway. Now, of course, when Jimmy comes back in Eye of the Tiger, he's in a wheelchair. The school is wheelchair accessible. Spinner does everything in his power to make Jay feel wanted and all that. He even gets the coach to make the school's basketball MVP into the Jimmy Brooks trophy. And basically, he feels good about himself. Jimmy tries his basketball, but he just couldn't do it. Spinner tries to help him out. Jimmy basically says that now my basketball career is over. It's been shattered. And I wish Rick had better aim and all that. You don't mean that. I'm just a shell of my fellow man. I rode Rick as hard as everyone else. I feel bad for it. I should have been helping you out with your problems instead of being in the hospital for 3 months. And then Spinner basically tells the truth. Spinner obviously had to tell the truth because if it had come out that he had something to do with it, Jimmy and his parents would have sued Spinner for what happened to their son. Basically, Spinner would have been in deep shit, really deep shit, if you will. And, he would have definitely named Jay as a co-conspirator and basically dragged Jay down with him in juvie and all that. Spinner basically would have had his life turned upside down. Now, would Spinner have had a redemption arc if that had happened? I think so. I think Spinner's redemption arc was huge, in a sense. Because, in a sense, he deserved it. I know that it was the biggest highlight in season 5 was Spinner's redemption arc and all that, to try to talk to Jimmy and all that, talk to everybody, all that. And he did a damn good job. So what you got is a bit of a conflict. Yeah, but in a sense, that's hard to say in a sense. I don't know why I keep repeating myself. But Spinner's redemption song was great and all that. It helped season 5 not become one of the worst seasons in Degrassi history. But Spinner did it for the common good, and I like him for that. He's a great guy. All that. Spinner learned his lessons. He tried to distance himself from Jay and all that. Yeah. So that's the point. I think Spinner basically did himself in. Spinner could have ended this whole charade about Rick. Rick probably would have been walking, and then they finally would have had attention towards Rick. Rick would have got what he wanted. Rick would have got justice for all the bullying done for him, and he may have been okay. But who knows? Maybe someone would have taken some action outside of school. So anyway, yeah. The Degrassi shooting stuff should never have happened in the first place. We all know that. And we all think that. It was a game changer. And basically, it went there. It really did. So anyway, thanks for watching this series. Hopefully, there'll be some new ones, depending on what the Degrassi Reddit says about it. But anyway, I'm Jack Diamond saying goodbye.